Our next guest's core philosophy is that serving the underserved and putting people first yields the greatest long-term dividends. From investing in BIPOC and women investors to building inclusive teams focusing on this area adds billions of dollars to Canadian economic output and puts businesses on the path to success. In conversation with host of BNN Bloomberg's Morning Markets, Amber Kanwar, please welcome Executive Chairman and founder of the Wes Hall Investments, Inc., and star of CBC'S Dragons Den, Wes Hall.
How's everybody doing today? Yes, it's epic. Amber, welcome.
Thank you. I think I should be doing that to you, but classic Wes, he's just taking charge right away. I didn't peg Lady Marmalade as your song, but
No.
it still feels right somehow.
It works.
I hope everybody can hear me over my pink suit today. Exactly, this is what I'm up against. Everybody can see the shoes, the signature Wes Hall shoes. And I feel like that's actually where I want to start with you, because shoes is a big part of your origin story, or rather the lack of shoes. The title of your book is No Bootstraps When You're Barefoot.
Yeah.
And like all superheroes, there's an origin story, and your origin story kind of starts when you're barefoot.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think on the platform here you see, where is it? You guys see my picture in the back? The main picture?
Yeah, there it is.
That's not the one. But this one here is that talks about really, at the end of the day, all the accolades that I received. So today is a special day for me. Today, I've been in this country for 38 years.
Woo.
38 years. That's my immigrant anniversary today, so this is very special. And in 38 years, those are the accolades that I've received in the 38 years since I've been here. I came here at 16 years old. And a lot of people say that it's impossible to do this and this and that, but it's not impossible, right? You can do it if you want to. But I always use the expression about being a scout. You know, one of the most important person on a sports team is a scout. What does the scout do? The scout goes out and finds talent. But they don't go to rich neighborhoods to find the talent. They go to poor neighborhoods. And we think in that corporate Canada probably should do the same thing. Have a scout within their organization to find talent. And if they did have that, they would have found me there in that tin shack in rural Jamaica with my grandmother, working hard. But my talent was trapped in poverty in that tin shack. My grandmother was working on a plantation, and she had 11 of us. She had 10 grandkids and a special needs adult daughter that she had to raise on a plantation worker salary, and that's it. So my talent, all this, was trapped by that. And thank God that I got the opportunity to come to Canada September 27th, 1985. And because of the hard work of so many people, I got my true potential fulfilled.
And I think that's important to point out. I remember when you splashed onto the scene, well, there were a couple of splashes, but in 2014, he appeared on the cover of Report on Business magazine as sort of the king of Bay Street.
Well, the first black dude to be on the cover, yeah.
Exactly.
Black person, period, yeah.
And the story was, yeah? It was a harrowing tale of a person who went from mail clerk to this mover and shaker on Bay Street. And while you had some hardships, it did basically chalk it all up to your hard work. And I don't want to diminish that, because I know that you did work hard. But there was a certain point where you decided that it's more than just hard work that is required. And you decided to step up and leverage everything that you had built yourself to take that to a larger platform. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, listen, first of all, you got to work hard and smart. Right? A lot of people think you're gonna work hard and you're gonna make it happen. You're gonna need breaks along the way, and you're gonna need some luck along the way as well. And because all of us kind of see something and see opportunities differently. most of us would go, I'm not going to work on a base street in a mailroom. And you wouldn't take that job because it's too menial, it's entry level. To me, I go, okay, I took it. And then I saw a completely different world and a completely different life that I can build for myself. So that's a little bit of luck that was involved in that, right? But it's also taking advantage of an opportunity that most people wouldn't take advantage of, because that led me to where I'm at today. So when I came here, I was in Scarborough, Malvern. Malvern was a tough, right? Malvern, I'd say, yo. So I went to Malvern. But think about, my perspective in Malvern. I saw, what are the business people that I saw in Malvern? Mom and pop shops, right? I didn't even see high-rise office towers in Malvern. And then when I came downtown, I went into the elevator at Commerce Court West to get this job in the mailroom, and I got off on the 13th floor and my ears popped. I've never been that high in an elevator before. And then I walked out to the law firm, and it was like an episode of LA Law that I stepped into. Well, suits for you young people in the audience, right? And I'm like, this is so cool. This is the life I wanted. And you know what? Nobody was going to stop me from getting it. Nobody, not racism, nothing was going to stop me from getting it. And I just walk over through and just get over people to make it happen. And I always say to the young people coming up, if you're an entrepreneur, okay, or you just want to get into an organization, whatever the case may be, I want you to go into the organization with the mentality of a running back. If you're a football person, you know what I mean, okay? See, if you go in there with the attitude of a quarterback, you're going to be very disappointed, because the quarterback is in charge of who gets the ball and what happens. They're in charge of the field. The running back is a worker. Okay, they get the ball, but the other side is trying to knock the ball out of that person's hand every single time, and they try to knock him down. But what happens when a running back is knocked down? They get up right away. But the running back also exploit little holes that is available, and they just dart through it. But they also have blockers in front of them to help them advance the ball down the field. And so we need that in our career to be successful. But if we're going in the workplace thinking that, I have a Harvard degree, I got this, I got that, and then the first time somebody tell you that, well, you're a woman, so you shouldn't be in this room. Or you're black, you shouldn't be in this room. Or you're a person of color, you shouldn't be in this room. You're a quarterback. You thought your degree gave you the authority to determine who gets the ball. And you're not getting the ball. You're not allowed to play. You just got knocked down. When a quarterback is knocked down on the field, they tend to get carted off the field. And they don't want to throw the ball anymore. Running backs don't do that. So if you go into the attitude that you're going to hear a lot of no's, you're going to hear a lot of people don't believe in you, find the people who believe in you. Find the blockers. Find the holes and exploit them. Because they're all around you, but you have to find them, and when you find them, you got to do something about them.
Okay, fine, yes. But I'm going to, at some point, you can work as hard as you want. Yep. You can work 2 times harder than the next person who didn't face the same sort of obstacles that you did, and still you have trouble advancing. And that's, I think, where you find yourself today. Yes, you're telling everybody, work hard, be smart, be resilient. But you're also trying to take down barriers so that maybe, just a regular amount of work will get you to the same place that it gets other people who are not BIPOC. Let
me say this. Look at all those achievements. I have 6 honorary doctorates in this country, okay? I'm like 54 years old, right? I got Canadian Business Leader of the Year last year. I got all these things, and people are still telling me today that I'm too ambitious, right? Think about it. At what point do they stop telling you that you're too ambitious? Right? So at the end of the day, you'll never get to a certain point in your career or your success where people just go, it's okay, you've earned it now. When you're from an underserved community, when you're from, whether it be a woman, you're a black person, a person of color, and you've made it in a place where it's unusual for you to be successful, people will always say that you're overachieving, right? And we talked about in the back, right? This world is going to be a great place when an average black guy can be on the board of a company. An average black dude. You don't have to be exceptional. Or an average woman can be in the board or to be the CEO of a company. Because you know what, honestly, there's a lot of average white dudes that are getting those jobs. Okay? And they get it, and they're okay doing it. Why should I be exceptional to get the opportunity? And why should a woman be exceptional to get the opportunity? And so that's when you'll never stop when you're from an underserved community or from an underserved background or an underserved group where people say, you know what, you made it now. We're going to open up and let you go on the red carpet. It'll never happen.
And yet you started challenging the status quo when you built your business, and you haven't stopped. I mean, I can say, even though people might say you're too ambitious, that you're part of the club, right? You are accepted on Bay Street, doors open for you now, and instead of, falling in with the crowd, you're still taking members of the established community in Bay Street to task with the Black North Initiative, which forces them to talk about a taboo, right? Yeah. Which is that everybody in my executive suite and everybody at my board table looks like one type of person.
Yeah, and I think,
sorry, by the way, but that's a risk to you, right? You didn't have to do that.
It is, because at the end of the day, all the people, I'm having a dinner at my house tonight with a whole bunch of executives from Bay Street, and, some of them are very, one of them is one of the very senior leader of one of the largest banks in the country, but I use those opportunities to talk about how they can do more to change. Like tonight, we're going to talk about how we should change things for immigrants coming to this country. There should be no reason why a doctor coming here should be driving a taxi cab, right? And so when you have those one-on-one conversations or group conversation with 10, 15 people in a very intimate setting, that's how I can use my platform, right? My platform is not best used with a placard walking up and down Bay Street to say, do better, do better, do better. My platform is used by having a conversation with folks. When I did the Black North Initiative, we have 500 CEOs that signed the pledge. The largest companies in Canada represent $1.3 trillion in value. I actually had one-on-one conversation with most of them to get them to sign the pledge. Because what I was asking them to do was unprecedented. Nobody's ever done that in any companies in any part of the world before, where a CEO of a large bank or a large insurance company or a large pension fund says, I'm going to make sure that this percentage of my company is Black, this percentage of my supply chain is, because what I wanted to do was create a playbook to use it in the Black community that's underserved, and then use that same playbook for all underserved communities in Canada, because it's been tested and proven. The problem that a lot of people say is that, well, we can't just focus on Black people. Well, when you focus on everyone, nothing gets resolved. So if you now get targeted at one particular group that's underserved, that you know to be underserved, and you go, I'm going to fix it for them, I'm going to use the same playbook to fix it for all the other groups as well.
Well, and that's the difference between equity and equality. Yeah. To get to, equity, certain groups need something different. Yeah. You mentioned, excuse me, you sort of mentioned the conversations that you're having one-on-one with people, and in many ways, you took a moment that seeped in everybody's consciousness with the death of George Floyd, turned that zeitgeist moment into something positive when you could have just let it pass you by. But now, here we are, several years later, it's not in the forefront of people's consciousness. There's some sort of recession maybe coming. Budgets are getting tighter. How do you feel about the enthusiasm for the initiatives you launched a few years ago?
Well, if I stop talking about it, people will forget about it. So that's why we're having this conversation still. A lot of people thought it was just a 2020 thing for me. It wasn't a 2020 thing for me. And I didn't do it for me, by the way. I did it for all those other people coming up behind me that are just absolutely smart and brilliant, and also did it because I feel like I have a responsibility to this country to make it better. I'll give you some examples, right? So this is me and my grandmother, Julia Vassal, in our tin shack in rural Jamaica. Still fly.
Still fly, yeah.
Still fly. And this is the responsibility that I have, right? For those of us, who knows this document? But you say something if you know that document. What's that document? See, if you don't know what that document is, you're privileged. That meant you're a Canadian. Born in this country, you don't need that document. When you're an immigrant, that's the thing that you're most proud of in your wallet. But it also tells me that as a Canadian citizen that I have certain rights and privileges. But it also tells me that I have certain duties and responsibilities. What are those duties and responsibilities that I have as a Canadian? If I see something wrong, I call it out. If I see something that can make this country better, I change it. And so when we have people, because of systemic barriers, are prevented from exercising their full potential, that's hurt in the country. And I need to call it out. Not hurting anybody else. I'll give you an example. We talk about, scouting. I'm the vice chair of the board of Huron University, a part of Western, and we do that there. And this fellow, for example, it was announced in the London Times, and CBC just announced it. He got the most prestigious undergraduate prize in the history of prizes given out to undergraduate students, okay? The best one. He got $100,000. There's 122 countries that participate for this program. He's the only kid in Canada that was qualified. 40,000 kids in total, and he won it, $100,000, okay? This is all the kids, for example, that are part of Huron University. That kid that I talked about, he spent 11 years in a refugee camp. We got him from the refugee camp. Think about his brilliance. 40,000 kids worldwide, 122 countries. He was number one. And he was stuck in a refugee camp for 11 years. We got him out of there. The lady next to him, Susan, 12 years in a refugee camp. The fellow bending over, he spent 5.5 years. He became the president of the student union at the university. And he was in the refugee camp for 5.5 years. We have 19 kids that we took out of refugee camps from Afghanistan, different places in the world, and we spent $250,000 on each of those kids. Right. But they're going to make our country better. They're going to make our world better. And so that's the duty that we have as Canadians, right? We can actually make the country and the world better. We can produce so many more Wes Halls in the world. And so the expectation is that if we continue to do the things that we need to do as a Canadian, if we continue to uphold our responsibilities, we can change the world one life at a time. And so that those 19 kids, you should meet them. They're absolutely brilliant, but they were stuck in poverty for all these years.
I think that's great because I want to talk about ways to institutionalize that. We hear a lot from CEOs, and we heard this a few years ago as the CEO of Wells Fargo. We'd love to do more on diversity, but we just can't find the candidates. They're just not out there. They're just not out there where you're looking, right? And so would you characterize this as still kind of ad hoc, or are we getting to a point where we can, you mentioned the playbook and replicating. I mean, how do we institutionalize that?
First of all, I never buy the argument that you can't find talent.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. That's why I talk about scouting. Scouting is tough, but that's the most important job in the sports team, to find talent. They don't wait for somebody to show up and knock on the team's door and say, hey, guess what? I think I'm good at basketball. Do you know that Chris Boucher was on somebody's couch in Montreal? And now when we go to the Raptors game, I just got my tickets for courtside. I got to spend all this money to watch him play and cheer him on. Chris, you're the man, you're the man. But when he's on the couch, I didn't think he was the man. But somebody found him, somebody worked hard with him, and somebody turned him into the man, or the woman, or whatever. You know, the fact of the matter is that we're lazy when we use that expression. We're absolutely lazy, and it's a cop-out because we have talent all around us, but we just want to choose the ones that we want, as opposed to just let them in and let them win. Now, I want to point something out because this is Enbridge on Monaco. I sent him a note when he announced his retirement, and he was the CEO when he sent this note to me, because he was one of the guys who was very intentional. He was running the largest energy company in the country. At the time, their market cap was $75 billion. I think today it's like $130 billion or something, maybe more. And he decided, he said, Wes, I'm going to do a little bit more than everybody else. I'm not just going to sign the pledge to say, I'm going to make sure 30% of my C-suite is made up of BIPOC people. I'm going to make sure that the same percentage of my supply chain is made up of BIPOC people, my employee count, the students that we hire. And he also indicated that I'm going to do all those things by 2025, and if we don't do them by 2025, it's going to affect our executive compensation. That's intentionality. And when he made that commitment, there were $75 billion, there are $130 billion today. They're the first black woman as the chair of a company that size in the history of this country. And the company's not doing worse off for it. It's actually doing better because they embrace diversity. Diversity makes us better. It doesn't make us worse.
Last 30 seconds left. This can be done at every level, I think. And if you don't have the privilege and the power that you have now, what's your call to action? Little ways that people can make this a reality.
Yeah, I mentioned that I did this by talking to people one-on-one. It's amazing if you talk to your colleague and you see something that's not right in the organization, you talk to a colleague and say, what do you think of this? And that person may probably think the same way too. And then all of a sudden you can get a coalition of people that can make some changes within the organization. You don't have to have power and influence. You just got to use the voice. All of us have it. The problem is a lot of us are afraid to use it because we're afraid of the consequences of using it. And if we forget about the consequences and just go, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, it's amazing how people respond to that kind of, just strength and boldness. People respond to boldness. If you're timid, nobody responds to people who are timid. They respond to people who do bold things. And if you're bold enough to do that, trust me, people will respond to it.
All right, before they put on Lady Marmalade again, I think our time is up. Please give a big round of applause to Wes Hall for sharing his time and insights.